What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to this week's episode of The Walkthrough. I'm your host, Joe Macheca. Here we go. It is Tuesday, April 15th. We get a view of things from the Diamond, John Whittle, joining me. Talked to him earlier today. We will get to that interview. And then WNBA bound. 3 Gamecocks headed to the WNBA. Going to talk about that. Also, some looks, some thoughts headed into the spring football game, all that right after the intro. You guys know what it is. It's The Walkthrough coming at you live as we usually do on Tuesdays. Here's the intro. Welcome to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this week's episode of The Walkthrough, presented by the Chief Sports Network. And now, here's your host, Joe Macheca.
Oh, yes, indeed. It's that time of the week. It's this week's episode of The Walkthrough. As my guy Stevie mentioned, I'm your host, Joe Macheca. Welcome to it. We'll start today in the WNBA. South Carolina women's basketball sending 3 players to the WNBA last night with Te-Hina Paopao, Bree Hall, and Saniyah Fagan all picked in the second round. Very close together, almost 3 in a row. But Dawn Staley makes it 15 players that now have come through South Carolina to go to the WNBA. Big stuff for Dawn and her program again to have all 3 of those picked. And again, going through it, Paopao first off the board, second round pick number 6, headed to Atlanta, really staying close to home, which is big. There's a clip. I didn't necessarily load it in, but Pao was talking to me about how excited she was to come back and be able to come back and support. She'll be able to do it a lot easier now with residency in Atlanta. Pick round 2, pick 6 was Te-Hina Paopao, first Gamecock off the board. Shortly after, just a pick later, Bree Hall and Aaliyah Boston are going to be reunited in Indy. Second round, pick number 8, Bree Hall off the board. The Indiana Fever, she's going to be headed, Seatbelt Gang is headed to Indianapolis. Bree Hall reuniting with Aaliyah Boston. Fun stuff to see for Gamecock fans there. Bree Hall taking her defense there. And then going out to L.A., Saniyah Fagan, round 2, pick number 9, picked right after Bree Hall. She's going to be teaming up with Cameron Brink in the L.A. Sparks. Good for Fagan, one of the best help side defenders I've ever seen. Play the game of basketball. She's quick. She's in the slot. Really, really good defender, really tough defender. So happy for Fagan. And then also, Hall and Paopao as well. So, 3 Gamecocks off to the WNBA. Again, 15 it makes for Dawn Staley or at Dawn Staley at South Carolina. And I believe it is up to it's up to 19 now total, because there were 4 WNBA players before Dawn Staley got to South Carolina. So 15 for Dawn, 19 for the school. So pretty impressive stuff, again, to have them picked all right after another like that. And, Bree Hall was the one that was kind of on the fence. You weren't necessarily sure if she was going to be able to go. Certainly talented enough to go, but second one off the board, and then Fagan, going out to LA. So that's huge. And then, Paopao getting picked, being the first Gamecock off the board, shows you that the 3-pointer is evolving in today's game. And teams in the WNBA want as much of that as they can get. So huge for Paopao to go to Atlanta. And all of these players, they part of 2 of them, part of the winningest class in senior or in program history, 4 straight Final Fours. Shout out to Brian Hall, Mr. Hall, Bree's dad, showcasing the 4 Final Four chairs at Bree's draft party last night. I thought that was a cool little note that he posted today. So, So Bree Hall, again, going to Indy. Being from South Bend, I know that there's not a whole lot to do in Indianapolis, but, I'm sure she can remain occupied. It's a fun little city up there in the middle of all that corn in Indiana. But so, again, running through it, again, 3 Gamecocks selected. Te-Hina Paopao, the first one off the board. second round, pick number 6 going to Atlanta. Bree Hall, as I mentioned, going to Indy with the Indiana Fever, pick number 8 of the second round. And then Sanaya Fagan, second round, pick number 9 right after Hall, going to the Los Angeles Sparks to team up with Cameron Brink. So exciting stuff, from the WNBA draft again. Big for the program, and it's good to see these players get their flowers. I think if any of you guys got to watch the presentation of it last night, it was a Holly Rowe masterclass. And also Sedona Prince didn't get drafted, and karma is a real thing, as we all know. So yeah, I shout out to the ESPN. Broadcast of it was great. Again, it was a Holly Rowe masterclass. I wasn't expecting to be closely brought to tears as much as I was for a draft and stuff like that. But again, Holly Rowe pulling all the strings out and really bringing the story out of the WNBA draft, right? Something that can be so mundane. So hat tip to them in the presentation of it as well. So again, 3 Gamecocks headed off to the show. I'm excited to see how they progress and how their pro careers come along. So do want to get to the interview tonight. Obviously, it's a big one. The only John Whittle. I'm going to run a commercial break just a little early because I want to get to this full interview with John Whittle. Get and talk to him for a good 15 minutes. So great show talking Gamecock baseball, Gamecock softball. So quickly, we're going to take a quick timeout before we get to Whittle. We will be right back with everything from Whittle, talking Gamecock baseball and softball.
Low on energy? Struggling with inflammation and poor digestion? Try Encapsulate 6 Mushroom Blend and get back in the game. Our blend is specially formulated to promote overall wellness and maximize health benefits using 6 powerful functional mushrooms. Our science-forward approach offers the most potent and bioavailable mushroom supplement on the market, backed by third-party testing to ensure safety and efficacy. Order online on Amazon or encapsulateusa.com today to start your journey to better living. Enter promo code JCM for $10 off.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody.
MidlandsSC.com.
Coming back into this week.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case. Nice. So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth. And, we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Welcome back into this week's episode of The Walkthrough. I am now joined by my guest, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Mr. John Whittle, here to talk Gamecock baseball and softball with me. First off, Mr. Whittle, how are we doing this fine Tuesday afternoon?
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Headed up to Clemson tonight to watch a little softball. Baseball team is home against Citadel tonight, and Alex Jones will be over there covering that game for us. So we got our hands in everything, but beautiful day today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, going to get at that softball, game with Clemson tonight. Obviously, we'll be live recording this a little early so you can get up there and cover that one. But we will be live in time before the softball game, so everything will be good. But, yeah, so I want to start with baseball, Mr. Whittle. Not super great things over at Founders Park so far this year. You're flirting around 500. But that also goes to show you how good this conference is. And the SEC is certainly elevated this year. But I guess your initial impressions where this baseball team's at about midway through.
Ooh, bad place.
Yeah.
Very, very bad place. I mean, it's to the point at 2-13 in the SEC. Like, you either have to, you basically have to flip the script. I mean, can you go 11-4 the back half of SEC play? Like, that's the question, because 13 wins in the SEC, if you don't have some bad losses, and South Carolina doesn't have bad losses, to their credit. They've won all the games they should. They just have lost all the games they should too. So, if you can go 11-4 the back half of the SEC schedule, then you got a fighting chance to get into the tournament. If you can't, then you got to win the SEC tournament. And South Carolina never done so hot out there. They've won it one time in their history. Now, Paul Mainieri, he's won it 6 times, so maybe he's got the right juju. Maybe he can. Maybe his juju can overcome, South Carolina's, horrific performances out there, but not in a good place. Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking NCAA tournament, that's probably something to put in the back of your mind at this point, because it doesn't feel like that one's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You gave me a lot to work with there. Obviously, you talked about the second half of the schedule. Florida is one of the big teams on that schedule. And there's a lot of talk around this program that, people will say that players inside of the program don't know the old rivalry, right? Don't know, the old kind of, or the roots of this program. I think there's no other rivalry to get that going again, than Florida. Florida's coming to town. They're obviously big bad Florida as they typically are. But Whittle, I guess, walk me through that series coming up. It's a home series. How much does that mean to, potentially getting things back on track, if you can even muster that at this point?
Well, it's going to be a minute before Florida comes in. It's Ole Miss this weekend, and then at Kentucky, and then Florida at home. I mean, you got to get it going this weekend against Ole Miss, who's another opportunity for you. Like that's what you have to look at is there an opportunity for you? And they're ranked number 11 in the country right now, and you've had some shots against some ranked opponents and haven't come through. And Ole Miss, they've been a team that struggled the last few years. Like, success is new for them. I know they've got a bunch of good players and a bunch of new players, but success is new for this team ever since winning that title a few years back. And they've missed the SEC tournament since then. South Carolina's never missed the SEC tournament and won't this year. Every team makes it. But that's what you got to kind of rally behind is like, listen, guys, like, this is the back half of the SEC schedule. You have a chance to make a statement right here. Against the number 11 team in the country. Is at your own home ballpark. Thursday night, Friday night, you get to play under the lights, and then Saturday. I think that's how you got to look at it. And you've got to win at least 2 this weekend to inspire a little bit of confidence going up to Kentucky next weekend, who just lost a home series, and then Florida after that, and they've really struggled. They've had a ton of injuries, but Florida's really struggled as much as South Carolina has. Yeah, absolutely. Again, looking for that opportunity is a big piece. And especially when your season's gone the way it has, with as fluky of the losses and the injuries that you've had. I mean, did Dylan Eskew getting hit in the head with the fly ball, and was it warm-ups or something? Yeah, batting practice and pregame. Yeah, he's going through stretching drills out in the bullpen and just gets bonked in the head. Gets bonked in the head and hurts his oblique. Yeah. So, it's kind of the tune of how this season's been going. I did want to ask you, so obviously the mishaps, the Dylan Eskew mishap, certainly, uncharted territory or certainly surprising territory. But is this kind of where you expected this team to be at this point in the year, or going into the Paul Mainieri area? Did you expect it to get to this point? No, not at all. I mean, this time a year ago, Joe, we were sitting here at the midpoint of SEC play. South Carolina had just gone down to Gainesville and taken 2 out of 3 from the Gators to move to 8-7 in the SEC. I forget the overall record, but it's better than what it was now. Yeah. And they were ranked number 20 in the country. And, South Carolina won a couple of series, but, after that, the last couple of series really faltered. But after 8 weeks of SEC play, so 2 weeks left of the regular season, South Carolina was the number 13 team in the country in the polls, and the number 12 national seed by D1 Baseball and Baseball America. There were some things that happened at the end of the season, played some bad baseball at the end of the season, and really put a damper on the way 2024 went. But you went to a regional the year before, you went to a super regional. The program wasn't in a terrible place. People can think what they want about Mark Kingston. Mark Kingston was fired because he couldn't get South Carolina up to South Carolina's standards. He didn't have a bad program, but it wasn't South Carolina standard. And that's why he was let go. You bring in Paul Mainieri, an established head coach with a ton of credentials, laundry list long, to elevate the program. You didn't bring Paul Mainieri in to rebuild the program. Why are you going to bring a 67-year-old coach who admittedly doesn't have a whole lot longer left in coaching to rebuild a program? You don't. Yeah. You don't. And South Carolina is in a much worse place right now than it was when he took over. And no, I didn't see this coming. Nobody saw something like this coming. I mean, South Carolina is on pace to be a historically bad SEC team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even a historically bad South Carolina team, like a historically bad SEC team.
Mm-hmm.
So no, like you couldn't have forecasted this. Like this, people can bang on the talent all they want to. It's much better than this. It is much, much better than the way they've performed so far. So, they've got to win a few games to. I know I'm going off on tangents here, but with you've got to win games to help you out for next year. Like if you go, let's just double the win total. Let's say you go 4-26 in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like how difficult does that make it to go get portal guys?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like these guys who leave to go in the portal, they're usually juniors and seniors. Like they want to go win.
Yeah.
And if you're 4-26, you're miles off.
Mm-hmm.
Miles. So then what has to happen? You have to pay people way over what they're worth.
It's true.
Can South Carolina do that? I mean, they're not doing it in any other sport. I mean, how's that going to happen with revenue sharing? How are baseball players going to get real NIL deals?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to happen. Like,
And
you've got to go out there and win games to be in the conversation to get players for next year. So even if you win only 9 or 10 games this season, like that helps you for next year. So you got to go out and figure out a way to do it.
Absolutely. And then factor that in too. Like you mentioned in your previous point about like rebuilding the program. Like if you're not going to be able to win games right away and be attractive to those juniors and seniors, right, you're going to have to do it through the freshmen, right, through the grassroots and recruiting. And that just takes time, right? You have to rebuild, your national image, and part of that is transfer portal players. But yeah, I like that point. Will, you're simply not winning enough games to be attractive enough to be a landing spot as historic of a program as you are. So I guess where do they go? Like I don't know if you've got all the answers, and if you do, maybe we need to talk to Mr. Donati over there, get you on the staff or something like that. But I guess Whittle, how do you get this program back to where it was, and how do you stop the skid and stop the bleeding of this season?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, you've got to put guys in positions to be successful, and they're not right now. I mean, South Carolina had 2 of its best pitchers who didn't even pitch against Texas A&M. I mean, you give up. I can't even remember how many runs. I mean, you give up 15 runs in the final game. You give up 17 runs. 15 and 17, 40 runs on the weekend.
Yeah.
And 2 of your best pitchers don't even pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? I don't know. Like, I don't feel like the players are being put in the best position to be successful, whether it's from a position player standpoint or a pitching standpoint, mainly a pitching standpoint. But having a revolving door of a lineup every day where you don't know where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, it doesn't make any sense. Players can't perform at a high level like that. They just can't. And if a coach tells you, well, figure it out, well, that's not really the way it works.
Yeah.
It's just you just can't do that. So, I put a lot of this on the coaching staff. They have not maximized the players. I'm of the opinion, and people can disagree with me if they want to, but I'm of the opinion that a coach's main job is to get the best out of your players in every way. Maximize their ability, whether it's on the field or off the field. You want to maximize them and bring the best out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, this hasn't happened. That just has not happened in any way, shape, or form this year. And, I feel bad for the players. I mean, I do. Like, now, I mean, there's certainly some things that are incumbent on them. Like, you can't go out in the first inning and walk 2 guys and hit 2 more. You can't.
Yeah.
Like that. You can't saddle Terry Rooney with all of the blame there. You just can't. Like, players have to rise up and perform some as well. But when you have almost an entire roster performing below their capabilities, it's reflective on the coaches.
Yeah. And what I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we were in a similar position last season where, I mean, with the last regime in the Kingston era, you fans in this program, and we were all just kind of wondering, it's like, okay, is he being too over analytical? Now I feel like we're on the back end of it. It's like, okay, are they being too, reinventive in old school baseball, right? Trying to do small ball and again, putting players in positions where they're not, capable of winning at the end of the day. Like you're saying there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some of that. I mean, it's two completely different routes to get to the same spot, but there's some of the same like overall problems from last year to this year. Two completely different ways of going about doing it, but still some overlapping issues. And I don't know. It's frustrating for anybody to watch. Like it's as frustrating as it is for fans out there to watch at times. Like it's so much more frustrating for these guys who are in the dugout and who are trying to give their best and just haven't lived up to it so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So baseball, we will recircle back. Obviously, didn't touch much on it this show, especially because the rotating roster and everything. It's been tough with women's basketball, but good to, get a baseball update in there. Well, I want to pivot over to softball. A little bit brighter, things to talk about, although 7-8 in the SEC in Coach Chastain's first year, certainly nothing to knock. But yeah, headed up to Clemson tonight for a midweek Palmetto Series game. We'll start with Clemson and then we'll talk about softball just overall and everything you've seen in Coach Chastain's first year. But yeah, Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, this will be their second matchup. South Carolina won the first one at home 6-0. And, that game was never really in doubt. South Carolina kind of walked the dog in that one. Scored 3 runs in the first inning. Was up 4-0 after the second. And, Clemson had like one little rally. I can't even remember which inning that was in. But they had like one little rally. South Carolina, I think, turned a double play. And, that was it. Like, that was – that was it. It was just kind of a dominating performance that day. And, that's something that was, what I thought would be kind of foreign. Last year, South Carolina beat Clemson in like a long extra innings game, beat them one time. But, Clemson has just been so dominating ever since they've started that program that it was interesting for me to see. It kind of took me aback to see it flipped so quickly. It was just one game. We'll see what happens tonight. But just to see South Carolina dominate one game like that against Clemson was pretty impressive. So going at it again tonight, we'll see what the Tigers have in store. South Carolina's playing some pretty good ball overall, even though they lost their game against Arkansas, series against Arkansas the other day on a tough luck play.
Yeah, absolutely. As the dogs are, supporting the softball team in the background. I love it. John Whittle, your dogs are stuff of legend. But yeah, softball again, getting ready for Clemson tonight. We'll see what happens again. That atmosphere, Clemson, they support the softball team really well, which is, good to see. But yeah, I mean, and so looking ahead, I guess this team is bound for the NCAA tournament, right? Like to this point, like, or are they on the fringe? Walk me through, I guess, where their NCAA tournament hopes sit. As I have, not very much understanding of how the softball tournament works.
Yeah, it's not that much different than baseball.
Gotcha.
It's is very RPI is very RPI heavy in terms of how seedings are determined and so forth. South Carolina is sitting number 4 in the RPI in the country right now. So, even though they're 7-8 in league play, they've played, one of the toughest schedules in the country. They've won 17 games against Q1 opponents. Texas A&M's won 19. Texas has won 18, but nobody besides those two teams have won more. So it's not like South Carolina racked up a whole bunch of wins against cruddy opponents. They've played the 5th hardest schedule in the country. They had non-conference series against nationally ranked opponents in Duke and Texas Tech. Texas Tech, interestingly, has a pitcher who signed $1 million NIL deal.
Can
you imagine that for a softball pitcher? One softball pitcher, $1 million NIL deal. It's crazy. And South Carolina beat her one game. So, But anyway, as South Carolina's in a really good spot from an NCAA, not only just making the NCAA tournament, but being a national seed, having home games all the way through Oklahoma City, where they have their College World Series. So I wouldn't call them a lock right now to be there in that top 8, but they've positioned themselves really, really well at this juncture.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's exciting to see, right? Softball program that, you could see a lot of juice out of, a lot of Gamecocks going out to support, similar to baseball, right? Hat tip to Coach Chastain again. In her first SEC series against Oklahoma, again, losing each of those games by 1 run, all nail biters out there in Norman. So huge things coming in softball. And, again, big series this weekend again as they continue their SEC play.
Absolutely. Ashley has done a remarkable job. The softball season doesn't quite line up the same way as baseball season. They only played 24 SEC games, so they've got 3 SEC series left. They've got Kentucky at home this weekend, and then it's actually a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series. They put games on softball on Monday nights on the SEC network. So that's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series for folks wanting to maybe check them out at home. Then they're at Auburn the last weekend in April, and then home against Alabama to wrap up, conference play before the SEC tournament. So, it's coming to an end right now for the Gamecocks in terms of the regular season, but they're in a great spot.
Yeah, most definitely. Good things on softball, baseball. We'll have to see how the rest of things go. Whittle, I'll try to have you on the show again before the SEC tournament to see if we have any more life out of baseball, and then hopefully a lot more good things to talk about with softball. But the man, the myth, the legend, John Whittle, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Joe.
Yeah, that was John Whittle joining me a little bit earlier, talking about Gamecock baseball and softball. Again, appreciate him joining me for this week's episode of The Walkthrough. Appreciate everyone joining me. Everyone who tuned into this week's episode. If you missed it, go back to the Chief Sports Network YouTube channel, or you can rewind on Twitter, wherever you guys are watching this week's episode. Also, be sure to check out Inside the Gamecocks with Matt Anderson and Alex Jones. I believe that is on Wednesday nights. They're going to keep that going. I'm not sure what time Wednesday night, but also check out Inside the Gamecocks show every Monday through Friday. And that starts at 9-10 o'clock in the morning and runs till about 4. So be sure to check out all of the shows on the Chief Sports Network. Appreciate everyone tuning in to tonight's episode. We will be back in action again next week, recapping the spring game with the one, the only Hale McGranahan. So we will have all of the takes from spring football, everything you need to know from a whole lot of practice. But yes, appreciate everyone joining us, and be sure to tune in next week as well as Hale and have that interview for you as well. So appreciate everyone joining us, and enjoy the rest of your week.